Hi, Tony here for Lightwave Digital. I'll post part 1 in the description if you haven't seen it, which I'll go through the basics of some of the interface in Lightwave Modeler. What we're going to do in this part is we're going to remake this basic toy train using basic shapes. So what I'll do is obviously go through using some of these shapes and the numerical to do with the shapes. Also how you can switch down here, look to like points, edges and so on, and also how to name your layers and use basic modify, move, rotate and drag about and stuff like that. So like I said, this is what we're aiming to make today, is the actual basic train. But we can make anything really, but the whole point of this is just to show you and get used to working around the interface and moving stuff around, like I said, naming the layers and so on. And we'll probably finish on where we'll assign how to go about assigning surfaces to objects, ready for the part 3, which will be taking it through to layout and then texturing it, lighting it and rendering it. Okay, so I'm going to put this on my other screen without doing that, and what I'll do is use that as my reference and then start building it up. So we'll start with the base. So I'm on a blank layer and I'm just going to use create a box, and in the top view, so you always draw it out at the top and the front or right, and remember perspective view is just for viewing and selecting really. So we'll draw it out in the top view as you can see, and then we'll pull it down in the side view. Now what I'm going to do next is at the bottom here, look, you've got numerical or N on your keyboard. This tells you what the size of the box you've just drew out, and so then what you can do is go and put it into the size you want. So for instance, we're going to make it to a rough scale, so my suggestion is use real world sizes when you're making anything. So from a building to a toy train, use the right sizes. So I'm making this up roughly, so I'm going to say it's 18 centimeters in the width and press return. We'll put the height of this, and just to say, I'll show you in a second, let's say the height is I don't know, 4 centimeters. We're going to change this anyway, and then let's say the width is like 8 centimeters. So again, I'm making this up. Let's just have a look. And when you do this as well, this here, look, X, Y, Z, this is where it's positioned. So we can zero all that, so it's actually positioned back in the center if it's not there. So it always needs to be centered. And let's have a look. So we're kind of saying that's what it looks like at those settings. And if I bring my picture over, I'm making this bit here look, yeah, so I'd say it's probably a little bit too high and maybe need a bit wider. So you can do this in here, or you can simply while it's active, remember you're doing this while it's active, and then you can decide, and I'm really just looking at the model and then looking at this and thinking, is that about right? So let's imagine I'm happy with that. In fact, what I'm going to do is I'm going to make it just a little bit longer. Let's say there. Now before I commit to this size, and you can tell it's active because it's got these little orange markers around, I don't want to make it so the actual objects are solidly sharp like this. Can you see on the edges? The train isn't that sharp. It has other elements, other polygons and edges that make it smoother very slightly. So for instance, with this and that and these bits here, they've got a slight oval shape to them. So to do that, at the bottom part you've got smooth edges. So if you click this and you've got a radius, so let's just move it up, say 1 mil, and straight away what you get is this little kind of bend in the actual from the top to the side. Let's say it's saying how many segments do you want. So if I add 1, maybe 2 more segments, and what that's going to do is give it you a smoother edge to the actual edges where the tops, bottoms and sides join, because it ain't going to be perfectly sharp like that, especially if you imagine a kid picking up. But yeah, so what I've gone and done is, as you can see here, here's the numerical elements, the positioning, the size and scale and everything. It's got a 1 mil smooth with 3 elements making that up. 3 segments, sorry, yeah. The other bit here is if you want extra polygons around the sides and edges. So as I pull them up, look, it's adding the actual polygons to the actual object, which I don't want for this case. I'm going to try and keep it as simple as I can. That's all I want. So once I'm happy, I'm going to shut it down, and then I'm going to press spacebar, and that drops the selection. And what I'm left with, and another good shortcut, is A on your keyboard, centers everything. It just centers the windows. It doesn't center your object, just the windows, the viewpoints. And then here, look, is the layer that this is on. So if I double click it, it brings up this, change the layer name. So it's really important you name your layer. So we'll just call this, let's just call it base. I'm rubbish at naming layers. Okay, and then we've got a name for it. Okay, so if we look back at our train, we need to create the next bit. So let's go and have a go at creating the other bit of this bit of a cab. Let's call it a cab, yeah? God knows what. If there's people out there who's train fanatics, they'll know what everything's called, even on a toy train. So let's put this in the background. And again, I'm going to the box. Now this time what I'm going to do is I'm going to draw out and pull up the actual shape. Now I'm constantly looking at my other screen, if you're wondering where this is on my other screen, and I'm looking. So it's got the default settings. If I bring up my numerical for this new object as before, and I want to keep it like that for this one, because I want it to be 1 mil radius and 3 segments. And for the size, I'm just looking, and this box sits just inside the main base. So that's what I'll do. And to do that, I'm just going to zoom in my top, and I'm just going to make sure it's just roughly inside like that. And then I'm going to select the little cross icon, and let's just move it up so it's kind of sat on that base like that. And you can see the scale and the sizes and the positioning like so. Now what I need to do is decide how tall I want this. Now looking at it, maybe a little bit more to about there. I mean, I haven't actually got this train, so I'm not measured anything. If you got the dynamics, you could. So there's the cab. I'm thinking to myself, that's I think that's okay. Maybe a little bit smaller. Let's just say that. So I drop the numerical tool and I press spacebar to commit, and then we've got another layer. So let's double click the layer and call it cab. Now next we need to create this hole. Okay, so to do that, what we do is we place an object, we create an object the size of that hole, and we put it through this object, and we do what's called Boolean, and we Boolean what's a negative space from a positive space. So that's what we're going to do next. So on a new layer, put in, click in the little background tick here, look, to put it in the background, and if you right mouse click, you can lock it so you don't actually accidentally click it off. You're not editing or doing anything with it, it's just there. Let's go to the box tool, and then let's draw through. And what we're going to do is I just need to make sure we're drawing it through the right way. So in the top, look, and we're placing roughly where this is going to be. So it's towards the top, let's say, and I'm making sure it's going all the way through. Now at the minute in time, I think it's probably a little bit big. Let's make it and then move it into position. So while it's active, I'm always doing this, and it's got like round edges, so we'll leave that as well. So we've got that going all the way through. Look, it has to be going all the way through because I want it, the hole we're going to drill to go all the way through. So now let's right mouse click, let's drop, sorry, spacebar, right mouse click to unlock that layer. And we're going to switch them around. So I'm turning the cab on and I'm putting the actual window cutting tool in the background. So this is what you need to do to cut them out. So I've got my cutting shape in the background. I then go to construct tab, Boolean, and it defaults to subtract. So it's going to subtract whatever's in the background from the foreground. Press OK, and there's the shape. So what you've got now is that. Now remember, if up here where it says texture wire, if you go to texture, that's what you're actually seeing. Forget about what the actual outlines, they're not going to render unless you want them to. So I just like to see the where the polygons and edges and everything are. So there's our little cab. Now once we've done that, let's turn on the other the base layer and let's have a look at them both. Yep, so happy with that. And with this, the cutting tool, we don't need it. Just press delete on your keyboard because I don't want it. And then we've got our first two objects and they've both got names. So the next part is, let's create this roof, and then again so on and so forth. What I'll do is I'll create the roof, we'll create the engine, I'll create whatever this is called where the steam comes out and whatever this thing is, and then what we'll do is we create one wheel and then we just go and we're going to show you how to clone and mirror stuff. Okay, so blank layer, I'm going to click on the other two, and what we like before, I'm going to right mouse click on each one to lock them in place. Now for the roof, it's literally, if you look at this, because what I'm doing, I'm breaking it down into very basic shapes. Imagine this was all put apart, a bit like a Kinder Egg. You know, you get a little Kinder Egg and you put it all apart, or a Lego, it's all separate. With this, if I look at this face, it's literally half a circle and then extrude it. So let's do that. So under create, we'll go to disk, and what we'll do is let's draw out, I'm doing it in my right view, the disk, and I'm just going to place it roughly halfway. Now if I have a quick look at this again, you can see it's overlapping all the way around the cab. So let's make sure it overlaps like so. Now I'm not pulling it out, you notice I'm leaving it flat. It's all flat. I don't want you to pull it out, I don't want you to extrude it, I just want you to leave it flat like this. Let's pull it up. And once you're happy, you've got it so it looks like it's overlapping. So all it is a flat oval shape, we're not extruding it. Press spacebar. Okay, so now we've got this circle, and you look in here and you're thinking, well, it's got nothing inside. It is. It's just the polygon can only face one way unless you tell it to be double-sided. What we want to do is make it half a circle. So what I'm going to do now is come down to the bottom here, look, and we're currently on polygons. We're going to go across and press on points, and then you're going to hold down the right mouse button and keep it hold down, and you're going to lasso select these points. Now I've missed one here, so I'm just going to hold shift and reselect it. So you've got all these points selected. Then you're going to press delete on your keyboard, and what it does, it deletes it and gives you that shape. Okay, so I'm thinking to myself, yeah, that's okay. Maybe it could be a bit taller. Maybe I could select a bit more. What you could do is you could select these 2 points. Look, so I'm just holding down my left mouse button and like selecting them while I'm on the points. Go to modify, move, and then it'll only move what is selected. So you could bring it down a little bit if you want, like so. And then again, you click on them to deselect or forward slash. Once you've got that, we'll move it down to about here, like so. And then what we need to do is we just need to extrude it across. So there's a few ways you can do it. There's thicken, like so. Just got to make sure you pull it the right way, like so. Or there's extrude. But again, as you see, when I'm extruding it, it extrudes it the way polygon goes. So I've extruded it, and what I'm going to do is we need to have a look and think, how far does it go over? I'm thinking a little bit more. That's probably about it, and then we'll just line that up. So I've extruded it. Look, there is a numerical for everything. So N on your keyboard, a numerical, bring it up. So you can numerically make this extrusion, and you can also, if you want, add size to it, which I don't. Once you're happy, again, spacebar to drop it. Then we go to modify, move, and all these, if you'll notice at the end of them, I've got little shortcuts, and then we just move it roughly into place, and we have a look what it looks like. Let's right mouse click unlock these, and then the very top, let's press F to have a look. I think it's overlapping that end a bit too far, so again, select the roof, be in the background, and again you can just move it forward a little bit, and again select them all on, and then what we've got is we've got the little roof bit. So again, double click the layer, call it roof. Oh, okay. Now we can at the same time go in and start smoothing these edges off, but if we'll leave it for the time being. We'll go back to that hopefully and see what it looks like rendered, and see if we need to smooth it in layout. So we're going to leave it like the way it is. So let's just select all the layers, and here's where we are so far. So the next bit is this, the engine. So we're going to do it in the same way. But what we'll do is we'll draw out a flat circle, and we'll draw, and then we'll select a few of the actual points, but not as many, because we want most of the circle. It's just the end bit, and then we'll extrude it again, and so on. We're breaking it down into basic shapes. So, new layer, other stuff in the background. You can lock them if you want. Create disc. Let's draw out the disc, and let's place it roughly where we think it goes. Now, if we're looking, it goes to the edge, and it goes to, I'd say, just over halfway up on there. So we're kind of looking, thinking, I think it's probably, if you look, it's kind of in line with the window, just past the window, which is probably about right on this. Maybe bring it up a little bit, maybe there. Let's just say that, right? And then I'll drop the selection by pressing spacebar. And now what we need to do is we need to select some of these points. So I'm just holding down left mouse button, and let's say that, and then it's just delete. Remember, I'm still on points in the bottom left here, and we've got that shape. So let's just, again, T, I press T on my keyboard because that's move, and I'm going to move it to here, and let's pull it down to right here, and then again let's multiply, extrude, and let's extrude it across, right across, so it's touching this just about like so. And there what you've got is the actual engine bit. Once I'm happy, spacebar to drop the selection. Let's select the top, the F top of the layers so we can see them all, and now we've got the engine bit like so. So double click the layer, give it a name, engine. Now one thing I haven't done is, you see here it says untitled. That's because I haven't saved it. So if you press S on your keyboard, here's my train contents directory, here's the objects, there's the final train I've done, and this is let's just call this train test 1 and save it. So I've got it saved now. So the next bit is what next bit. So I've got this, whatever that is, I think that's where the steam comes from, so God knows what that is. And then I've got these wheels, and I only need to make one wheel, remember, because we can just copy it across. So let's make these two bits here like so. So to do it, what we're going to do is go on a new layer, put everything in the background, I'm clicking the top here. We'll go to create. We're going to use a disk again. And in the top view, let's draw out the disk. And it's inside, like so. And if I look at this, it looks like it's kind of cut out and gone in. So we could do that maybe. So we could Boolean it. So we could say, okay, let's just make sure in these side views everything's right. So I could say that we could Boolean that. In fact, they're both, I think they're both roughly, maybe that's a bit smaller, I'm not sure, but if I do them both the same size, or what you could do, so I'm going to Boolean this shape into my engine eventually. But there's two, isn't there? There's two Chimneys or whatever they're called. So rather than do them on separate layers, what I'm going to do is, while this is active with the orange, I'm going to right mouse click and it automatically duplicates it, and I'm going to pull it across to roughly where I think it is, roughly, which I'm thinking is there. Okay, and if you want, you could make it tiny bit smaller maybe as well. Yeah, okay, spacebar. Switch the layers around. So here's the engine. Here's the actual two bits I want to cut, and then it's construct all the way down to Boolean. We're leaving it as subtract. Pressed OK, and then there's the actual holes that we've got. Okay, now at this stage we need to make the bits inside. So while we've got these, we may as well use them. So let's put the engine in the background, and I want them to just be a little bit smaller, but I don't want them to shrink as a group. I want them to shrink individually. So at the bottom where it says mouse, go along where it says local, and this shrinks them individually. So again, modify size, and we're just shrinking them very slightly. So you can do it numerically, but if I come all the way in, so zooming in and just click and bring it in that much, so it's just a little bit, they're both shrunk in, look. So let's say I'm happy with that. I press space bar, and now what we've got is we've got these two bits ready to be finished. So the first thing we'll do is let's sort this one out. So this one kind of comes up to the roof, halfway just past the roof, and it's got a rounded edge. So we're going to go down here, select polygon, select it, and let's move it up. But first thing, let's just go and bang everything else in the background. And what I do, I'm going to move it up, and you notice it's going side to side. If you don't want it to go side to side, you can hold control. So if I just show you, if I hold control and pull it up, and then you can't go side to side, it locks it. So I'm going to go up, and it goes to about here on the actual example. However, I'll need it to be rounded, so I'm going to pull it back down to about here. And while it's selected, we'll go to multiply, and then we're going to click on rounder and press numerical, and then what it does, it brings up these settings. So it's like, how much do you want this to be rounded? So let's say, you've got the 2 mil, so let's bring it down to about there. How many segments? It's 5, so I could reduce this, but I'm not. I'm just going to leave it as 5. And what we've got is we've got this rounded edge, which is about the same. So I could say I'm happy with that. So I've rounded it by 7 mil and using 5 sets of polygons. And then I press spacebar to say I'm happy, and then if you press / after spacebar, it will drop the selection. So I'm looking at this now, and looking at this, and this is still a bit longer, look. So I want to extend these points that make up this chimney. So we go to points. I'm going to right mouse click outside it, and I'm going to lasso select all those points. I'm then going to press T on my keyboard, or go to move under modify, hold control down so I lock the perspective I'm pulling it up in, and I'm going to bring it up to where I think it roughly is there. Then I press spacebar to drop the tool, and / to drop the selection, or you can lasso deselect it as well. So we've got this. So that's one done. Let's do the next one. So first thing, I'm going to go down to the bottom corner, look, and this time I'm going to select polygons, select the polygon, go to move, and I'm going to move it up. And I'm moving it up to about here, in line with where this starts to actually go rounded at the top. And then what we've got to do is make this shape here. And a simple way to do it really is probably using the bevel tool. So if we go to multiply bevel, and what we're going to do is we're going to click, left click, bring it up. So I'm with my mouse, I'm pulling it up and then outwards like so. So I've pulled it out a little bit like that, and you can see it in your perspective view, look what's happening. So once I've let go of the right mouse click, I'm going to so once you've left mouse click and done that, you let go, I'm going to right mouse click, and this will make another bevel, and I'm going to bring it out again a little bit more and let go, and then I'm going to click again with my right mouse click, and then slowly but surely I'm keep clicking. So all I'm doing is right mouse clicking every now and then to make that. So that's just the bevel tool, right mouse click after every selection, bringing it up to make that shape. Okay, so let's just drop the selection, and let's just call this Chim 2. I'm calling it Chim 2 because there's 2. And then I'm going to, so I've double clicked the layer again, I'm going to click the top F to see where we're up to, and we're about there. We have got these wheels to do, so I'm going to do one wheel and basically make this middle bit and then just copy them. Now I'm going to put all the wheels on the same layer. If you was going to animate this, you need to put them on their own layers. So you'll have wheel 1 or front right, front left, so back right, back left, and so on. You would need to do that, but because I'm not animating it, I'm just modeling and texturing it, I'm going to put them all on the same layer. Once I've actually assigned textures to this, you could copy and paste it all onto one layer, but we'll not do that for this. So wheel again, new layer, everything else in the background. And then let's see what else we've got here. So we've got lots of other stuff. So there's one here, I think it's called toroid. We click it, click the numerical, and then it opens the tool. Now let's just zoom out and have a look at this tool. So it's like a donut tool, and it's massive, the default. 32 sections, sorry, segments with 32 sections, radius, and you've got these handles that you can start manipulating the shape and so on and so forth, and then you can manipulate the actual hole as well, and so on again, so on and so forth. You can decide on this the start angle, the finish angle, and so on and so forth. And then, and if you mess about with it and you think, oh hold on, it's all gone wrong, in actions just reset, and there's a reset for most. What I'm going to do with this is let's just make the hole a little bit bigger. And I'm going to leave it like that. The radius needs reducing. Sorry, the size overall needs reducing, which is this one, look. But I'm going to do it using the size tool so it doesn't manipulate the actual hole. So I'll show you what I mean. So spacebar to drop the section, go to modify, go to size, and we're just going to size it all the way down. And once I've got so small, I'm going to press A on the keyboard to bring it in, and I'm going to size it again, and I'm going to size it to roughly the size I think it should be. Now the best thing to do with the size is once I've shrunk it down, we'll go to rotate under the modify, and in the front view here, look, we'll rotate it. Now you just click and drag to the side, and you have to rotate it up like this to get it. The other thing you could do is, I just undo that. If you hold control and rotate, it will rotate in little 5 angle segments like so. And again at the top, look, like so. And let's just go to the move tool, so it's T on your keyboard. Let's drag it to the side, and let's place it roughly where it should be, which is about here, I'm guessing, and look at the size. So what I'm doing is I'm looking how far above there it is, how far. But do you know what? To be honest, that's not bad. To say it was just a bit of a guess. Whoops. Let's move that back out. So that's not actually that bad. I would say maybe a bit thicker it needs to be, maybe. But the size in general, maybe move down a little titchy bit and that's it. So let's just move it down a little bit like that. Now I would say it needs to be a little bit thicker. So to do this, we'll go to stretch, the stretch tool, while it's selected, hold control and just drag up. And it just do it a little bit thicker. And then we'll go to move and move it back out. Like so. So we've got like a wheel there, look, which is roughly about right. Next we need the inside bit, which is basically a disc which with a bit of a roundness on it. So let's do that. And we'll do it on the same layer. So we'll go to create, we'll go to disk. Now let's do it in this window here. Let's zoom in. We'll pull it out and then we'll make it so it fits roughly just right inside there to about there. Let's pull it out and then pull it by grabbing the inside bit into here, look, and let's pull it out to about there. I'm not pulling it all the way to the edge because I need to round it like so. So it's roughly about right. We'll drop the space bar. Now you've got two, if I just select this, you've got two objects that move as one. So what would you do if you want to move them individually? I think personally, under modify, if there's an option to use a direct selection tool, so you literally click it and do it directly, I would like it. However, what all you have to do is, while you're on polygons, is select a polygon, and then on your keyboard or up here, look under selections, you've got a connected, and then it just selects anything, or the bracket key selection, and then you can move it all within that layer still. So you could do that. But all I'm going to do is select the front polygon, go to multiply, go to rounder, numerical. It's back to what the original was. And if you look at the image, it's just rounded a little bit. So what we need to do is we need to bring it in, reduce this to about 3, and just decide how much roundness you want on it. I'm just going to leave it like that. It's probably not spot on right. So spacebar, drop selection. Let's have a look at them all. A on your keyboard to center, and there is the first wheel. Okay, like so. Now at this stage we can look at it and decide, is it big enough? Probably needs to be a little bit bigger. So we select it, we put everything else in the background, and we just simply use the multiply size tool, and then it's just, now currently when I size this, I'm on local, so it means it's going to size them separately. So tell a lie, it won't size them separately because they're on the same thing. So let's just size them up a little bit, and I'm happy with that. So now what I've got is I've got my wheel ready to go, but I've only got one wheel. So double click the layer, call it wheels, put everything else in the background, look, and then what we'll do is we'll go to multiply, mirror, bring up numerical, put it on your Z depending on which axis you're in, and then what it does is mirrors it across like so. Drop the selection, so we've got these two here, then go to mirror again, numerical, do it on the X, oops, to do that again, and what you can do is you can decide, because they're probably a bit too close, they're right towards the back, so you can click and drag these to where you want it. So these are kind of really kind of at the back like that, so like so, and then space bar. Then let's put everything else on, and what you've got is the actual train like so. Now looking at it, I know that this is thinner, it's not as thick as that. I think it needs making smaller. I keep putting that behind there, look. However, that's because I'm just I am looking at them, but I'm not kind of focusing 100% on it. But you can tell this is a bit smaller. So you could come into this on the layer and make it smaller. You could select everything here and size them down and so on and so forth. But what I want to do, because I know I've been talking for quite long, but I've really tried to take my time with this so you don't miss anything and it's as easy as you can. So even if the video's half an hour or 10 minutes, I'd rather it be half an hour and it be easy to follow than not. So what we've got to do here is we've got our objects. They're all named. What they haven't got is surfaces. So we're just going to assign the surfaces ready for the next part. Now all the surfaces for this on your left is under surface editor and it's called default. So currently they're all assigned to this default, and you see the color here. If I change it, it will change the color to what you want. Now what I want to do is I want to have a list here of individual textures for each element. So for instance, the base. So I'm on the base, I come down to the bottom and there's a set surface. You click it and it'll say, what do you want to call this? So I'm going to call it the same as the layers, so it's kind of linked up, and I'll just give it a click the little colour, and I can just give it a random colour. You can tell it to be smooth if you want, and press OK. And now I've got it separate from the default, so I can do what I want. And then we're just going to do that. So this one is the cab. So the shortcut for the set surface is Q on your keyboard. So we'll call this cab. Okay, and it obviously it defaults to the other colour, but you could come in and say, okay, well, it's more of a like a blue colour, but we're going to use proper textures on this, so that's okay. Next one is the roof. So Q on your keyboard, roof, engine. So Q on your keyboard, engine. I think that's blue as well, actually. It doesn't matter really because it's going to be changed anyway. We've got two chimneys, so what we do is in any window you choose one polygon and then you click, remember before, selected, connected, Q on your keyboard, and we'll call this Chim2 for chimney 2, and we'll just give it a yellowy colour. It doesn't matter. Okay, once we've done that, the easiest way to deselect it and reselect it is under selections, click inverse, and it'll drop it and select this one. Press Q and call this, not engine, call this Chim1, and I think this one's black, so let's make it black. Okay, and then / to deselect it. And last but not least is the wheel. So with the wheel, what we're going to do is I'm going to, in my perspective view, click, so I select a polygon or couple, hold shift, and then go round and select one polygon off each one of the wheels. Then under selections, click connected, so they all select. The middles aren't selected. Press Q and we'll call this outer wheel, and we'll leave it black. Then while they're selected, we'll click inverse so it selects the inside, and then Q inner wheels, and we'll just make them, I think they're yellow, aren't they, or something? Yellow. Okay, done. /. Now let's just select all the layers. So what we've got now is we've got all our layers named, we've got all our layers have got their own surface, so we can come in here whenever we want and we can start playing around with anything we kind of want, and do you know what I mean, we can do what we want with it and stuff, which is what we need. So at this stage we're ready to take it through to layout and to start actually assigning the surfaces, set the camera up, and setting the basic lighting so we can do a render. So been through it. This is obviously quite a long tutorial for an easy model, but I wanted to take my time, and you need to do it like this because you'll get used to naming layers, using the move, using the rotate, using the size, the stretch, and numerical, and you're repeating the process, so it's going to sink in better. Thanks for listening, and look out for my next part 3.